Most people have been using these 10 types of packaging incorrectly all their lives without realizing it. Are you one of them? Find out in this video. Or have you always opened chip bags from the top? You should stop doing that in future. Open them from the bottom instead. The reason for this is that due to the supply chain, all the spices are usually found at the bottom of the bag. There is also another trick. Because if you push the bag up from the bottom like this, you'll make yourself a small bowl and won't have to get any extra dirty. You can simply remove the chips from the top and don't have to reach into the bag with your hand. And when it slowly gets emptier and emptier, you can simply push it further up until the chips reach the top again. And if you've ever used ice cube bags before, you must know this trick. You fill them with water, then put them in your freezer and wait for them to freeze. You know the drill. But did you know that you don't have to squeeze out the individual ice cubes here? Instead, you tear the whole bag apart slightly at the sides, as you can see here, and then push the ice cubes all into the center. Now all you have to do is open the bag at the top and you have a small bag with all the ice cubes inside, so you don't have to squeeze out every single one and can get to them all at once. And if you also have these resealable bags with you, you certainly always try to open them in such a way that you reach under this line and then pull them open. This is sometimes quite difficult because it is actually the wrong way. It's much easier if you pull the two individual tabs apart at the top because that's how it's designed, and it's also much quicker and easier. Before we get to the 3 most incredible packaging tricks, I would like to show you why you should never simply tear open these baking powder sachets if you are not using them completely. Instead, it's best to cut off a corner at the top and then cut off another small thin strip, as you can see here. This should still be closed on both sides so that you have a flap like this. If you haven't used all of the baking powder now, you need to fold this one over at the top where you made the cut, and then you can simply stick this little flap over the top here. This keeps it really tight, nothing can leak, and you can store your baking powder perfectly until the next time you need it. If you have closed cable ties once, you know that you can keep tightening them, but you won't be able to open them again because they get stuck. However, there is a very easy way to open them. All you have to do is push a screwdriver or another pointed object between this strap and this little nipple. Then you can easily open it again. And so, of course, you can reuse it every time, and you don't have to cut it completely if you want to open something that's secured with cable ties. This ketchup bottle trick has really changed my life, because if there's not enough left inside and you can't get anything out, you shouldn't start shaking wildly, as you can see here. Instead, take the ketchup bottle in your hand, make sure the lid is tightly closed, hold it firmly and twist it a few times with your arm. This really gets all the rest of the ketchup down into the bottle and you get a lot more out. Now come 3 real hits. Because if you have a sausage like this in your skin, then you should just cut off a piece here at the front, but don't always go in here with the knife. Because most of the time you'll dirty the inside with other food that you had on the knife beforehand and you won't really get everything out. Instead, you should simply turn this little corner at the back. This will turn the sausage towards the front, and if you have enough sticking out at the front, you can simply cut the piece straight off with the knife. The second advantage of this method is that you really get everything from the sausage out of the skin, because as you can see at the back here, by turning everything up really tightly, nothing remains in the casing. And if the lids on these bottles always annoy you because you open them and then have them hanging in your face when you drink from them, then you should know that there is a secret function that was built in right from the start, but unfortunately hardly anyone knows about it. It's this little extra strap. You can actually use it to hold the lid in place and then pull it over the bottle so that it looks down on the other side. And after drinking, you can of course pull it back again and close the lid. This way you'll never again have the problem of the lid hanging in your face while you're drinking from the bottle. And you're probably already familiar with the function of these cleaning sprays where you can turn the front end back and forth to open or close it. But there is another ingenious function, namely this little flap, because you can open or close it and it actually has a function. Because if you leave the flap closed and then spray it with the cleaning spray, you get a jet, as you can see here with me. But if you now take the bottle and then open this little sieve, it's no longer a jet but a spray, which is much easier for some applications. And if you have an oil bottle like this with this little clip on the top, then you should pull it off, but don't throw it in the bin afterwards, as you probably always do. Instead, you should simply squeeze this ring where your finger is now sticking through and then put the whole thing back into the oil bottle the wrong way round. But make sure you don't push it all the way through, because we want to have a small slit at the end, as you can see in a moment. Because if you haven't put this part into the bottle, it will look like this. The opening is relatively large. Now that we have pushed this small lid back into the bottle, it looks like this. The advantage of this is that you can of course simply screw on the top lid and put it in the cupboard. But if you now need some oil, for example, for the pan, you can dose it much better, as only a small amount comes out rather than a very large amount. But that's not the only thing you should never throw in the bin, even though you always do. I'll show you more things in the video you see on the screen now. Click on it and watch it.